Jeff McDonald, Stephen McDonald, Andrew Reich. I don't know if you wanted, I had some chairs, but I cut this out of my home carpet. And my wife's not very happy about that, but you can put the chairs wherever you want and just turn on the light. Yeah. See, I'm putting my own roadies, Red Cross. Isn't that awesome? Thank you. Yeah, well, you can sit in style. So I begged. I'm one of the board members here. We're a nonprofit, but I begged to be able to do this Q&A because I lived in Los Feliz like 83 to 98. So I saw these guys so many times. We actually talked several times. Not that you would remember me, and you never called, so. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. The film is awesome. You guys are awesome. Push the button.
Are we all good?
Hey, yeah. So I'm just going to ask a few questions, and then I want to open it up to the audience because I know you guys are big fans. I saw a lot of Red Cross T-shirts and such. So I want to ask Andrew, the director, why Red Cross, first of all?
Well, I've been a fan for a very long time, since 1984 when I was in high school. And I just think of all the bands from that scene, Red Cross to me was always the most interesting. Loved a lot of bands from that time, but I thought their personality, their story, the world they created, just always fascinated me, and never had any ambition to be a documentary director at all, but I just, I heard Steve tell the story of his abduction on a podcast, and it just felt like on top of everything else that's just so interesting about this band, hearing that story, I was just like talking to my wife and telling her that story and saying like, someone, it's just crazy, no one's done this, and someone needs to make a documentary about this band, and she said, well, why don't you do it? And that was it. So I just decided to give it a shot, and I think it was as interesting as I thought it would be. I think it was even more than I knew at the time.
I mean, those of us that were kind of fans of the band, we knew they were brothers, and we knew they were really cool and very stylish. You guys were always so stylish. So I remember that was the one thing I would say, man, those guys are stylish. You always had great clothes. And I want to ask you guys about singing, because there's always something about brothers singing together, sisters singing together. Their voices are always, obviously the Beach Boys are the best example. The Roaches, the female singers and whatever are awesome. So did you guys start singing early on, even before you wanted to be musicians? Or?
We had to work hard to to be able to call ourselves singers. But we do have the lead harmonies. Yeah. We achieved that at times.
I think we spent more time posing in front of the mirror and worrying about our clothes than we did about our harmony blend, unfortunately.
But eventually that became a priority.
It was. I mean, I've listened to you. Oh, I want to do one thing. Excuse me. I just hooked my phone on the chair. So I brought my copy of the new album. Just gonna go here. And I just want to say, folks, if you haven't bought this fucking album, it's unbelievable. So, who knew that in 2024 the best fucking album of the year would be from Red Cross, right? I took the vinyl out so I wouldn't break it, but there they are when they're... Is this 15 and 11? Is that where you...
15 then.
15, yeah. Just before puberty, apparently. But I want to talk about this because I have been obsessed with this record for about 6 months or whenever it came out, especially the main attraction. So that's your song, Stevie, right? Tell me about that if you don't mind. The main attraction is like, if you haven't seen the video or listened to the song, it's such a brilliant song and has such a great message. So I wonder if you'd talk about it.
Well, first off, I just can't believe all you people. Thank you
Yeah.
for having us tonight,
please.
and thank you everybody for coming. I really had no idea there would be such a nice room of people waiting for us. So you obviously have cultivated something very cool here tonight. And the album, you know, first the thing I like to say about the record is that the first song that we recorded for that album is the theme song to this movie, Born Innocent, which was Andrew Reich requested that we write an origin story song for the film for the closing credit, and we did it like 3 or 4 months before we made this album. And although we had a lot of the songs written already, I just like to say that this movie that Andrew's created, which I'm so grateful that a very talented person decided to obsess on our story and tell it for us. And he did such a great job. I mean, you know, we have a good story, but he made a great movie. And then that kind of sparked this whole creative flow that essentially culminated in this album, which is our first double album. So I give Andrew a lot of credit for this sort of creative thing that happened from this movie. But the song that you referenced, thank you for bringing that song up. It's just called The Main Attraction, and what I say about it, it's my little prayer to the ever-expanding universe.
Yeah, it's like let all my actions,
unironically.
let all my actions from below and above be motivated by love. If I remember the lyric. And I actually learned that on my guitar. I was gonna bring my guitar and force them to play it tonight. And said, I'll play this if you guys will sing, but I chickened out. So anyway, it's a brilliant song. So Jeff, and did you write most of the songs on this?
No, on this record, Steven wrote a lot of songs on his own. I wrote one or two songs on my own, and then we actually got together and wrote the majority of the album as a songwriting team, which we hadn't really done since our very first EP.
So normally you would write separately and then bring the songs to rehearsal or whatever?
Yeah, we'd just collect a bunch of songs, and then we would just whittle it down. But this time we were actually working towards something, and we were having a really good time writing songs together, because we were just basically, our songwriting sessions would be watching bizarre clips on YouTube, and then you should get that. We have to get that riff down. Then we'd finish the song in the last 10 minutes, and that would be it. So that's how the majority of that record was written.
I mean, basically, we knew that Andrew was really hell bent on getting this movie out for 2024, and we felt like, well, if he gets this movie into spaces that we wouldn't necessarily be able to be in, then we better have a record ready and locked and loaded, so that if people that know nothing about the band see the movie and then become interested in us, and we don't have a new album of material, then that would be a lost opportunity that would be on us. So Andrew definitely inspired this creative flow in many ways.
And Spin Magazine's, is it number 3 album of the year or 2?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, that was in some list. All I know, they gave us a 10 out of 10. Whatever.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, we're in Long Beach, obviously, and you guys are in Hawthorne, not too far away.
Yeah.
Did you ever hang in Long Beach?
Yes. I used to have to take the bus here to go to Zed Records to buy early punk records. Yeah, Zed Records, and Zed Records was special because you could bring your own artwork in, and they make the buttons for you.
Yeah, badges.
Yeah, you get like your cool punk rock button that no one else
And
had.
can you remember like some of your original designs? Remember you had Penelope Houston of the Avengers?
Oh yeah. I had a
But I mean, you had some other.
Shirley Jones Rules?
Yeah,
or
did you
something
have a
like
Shirley Jones?
No, I didn't have a Shirley Jones. I had a Shirley Temple.
So there were those of us that were here in Long Beach, even before me, there was Fenders,
Yeah.
right? Fenders
played
Ballroom.
Fenders Ballroom.
There was, you played Fenders?
We played Fenders. We played Fenders with Blue Cheer.
Blue Cheer.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. In
That's
like
awesome.
'83, we saw the Ramones at Fenders. I
Yeah.
saw Cheap Trick at Fenders.
Fenders was awesome. Bogart.
So yeah.
So Bogart's out
Saw
on
Paul
PCA.
Stanley solo playing at Bogart's.
I saw
That was happening.
Ian Hunter and Mick Ronson at Bogarts. That was a terrific show.
Do you guys remember the Stingers, the early punk rock band from Long Beach? They had a punk rock store here. So that was, I remember going there.
Well, the Stingers also
They became Unit 3 because they were the parents of the girl Venus,
Venus,
who was like,
who might be here tonight for all we know.
Venus, are you here?
Pajama party.
No, I
Yeah.
guess Pajama
Yeah,
party.
Pajama Party, yeah.
I mean, I'm just blown away to be here, and thank you so much again for coming. And again, I want the audience to participate in this. So if you have any specific questions or general questions, just raise your hand, and I'm going to come out, and or we have a mic right here. So raise your hand, and our microphone will come to you.
Oh, yeah, Alexander, can you hear me? Yeah, we know that Circle Jerks kind of ripped off that I Just Want Some Skank song from you guys, but what about, I just heard recently about Tarantino and Reservoir Dogs. What's the story there? Did they steal that from you guys?
no, that was just a there's a scene in the movie where they talk about the song.
In what movie?
In the song Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
In the beginning, they're talking about
Madonna.
but there's
Gangsters
a famous
are
scene
talking
about talking about the Like a Virgin song.
Oh, they're talking about all the phases of Madonna.
No.
Okay.
No, they're just talking
Which
about
thing,
like.
No, it's like what the song Like a Virgin was really about, and I had a weird viewpoint, a perverted point of view. But it wasn't stolen, it was just a real conversation that Quentin wrote it down after I left.
So you used to hang out at the video store where he used to work, from what I understand, right?
Yeah, that was our cultural center in South Bay for years, Video Archives.
Yeah.
It was like a little scene several times a week, usually.
Yeah, that's true.
When,
But we were actually customers before Quentin worked there.
Oh.
Yeah, we were tight with his boss, Lance.
Lance.
Yeah,
The
Lance.
VHS days, is that
Yeah,
what that
good. Lance, you know, he had all these like Gus Myers docs.
was? Lance sounds like he had some really interesting films. It's an interesting name to work at the video store. I don't know.
Quentin also covered the Be Wet song too, or there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a ripoff.
Was he a Red Cross fan, or he wanted you to do something at some point?
I mean, this is bizarre to think, but there was one point where, for Quentin Tarantino, we were probably like the closest thing he had to people to having friends in show business. It's kind of true.
Yeah, very much so.
That's very much true, and it's hard to believe. But and I haven't talked to him in 30 years or whatever.
So he hasn't
That
asked you to
works.
appear in his latest film or anything, no?
Yeah, no.
So you were dating Sophia
I was.
Coppola,
Yes.
and so I heard a weird thing like, what was it that they wanted you to be in the movie, or you were like, oh, who are you again? Quentin who, or something like that?
Well,
Did you have a relationship
This
with
is
Quentin?
me telling these stories.
Oh,
Yeah. Quentin, when he wrote, and correct me
Yeah,
if
go
I'm
for it.
spreading rumors, and this would have been if Quentin had just agreed to an interview, which he didn't, then this would be in the film. But when he wrote Natural Born Killers, which was the first script that of all of them, wasn't the first one made, it was the first one he wrote. He asked his friend Chuck Kelly, who's in the movie, who's friends with these guys, do you think you could give this to Steve and Sophia to see if maybe they would be in my movie?
He was just trying to get his movie made, and
Yeah.
once again, we were the closest thing he knew to show business people. I don't think he necessarily wanted us to be in it.
That's what Chuck told me.
But that was probably his way of trying to get it made.
Get it to Francis or something.
Yes,
But
I-
anyway, Steve never read it, so that's the end.
I'm not good at reading scripts, and I'm sorry. Yeah. So maybe it makes sense that Quentin doesn't talk to me. He's still mad that I
Well, we
passed
did
the
invite him
script
to be here
along.
tonight, and he said no, so. Andrew, so if I can ask you about getting everybody together. A lot of great people appeared in this film, obviously fans of the band. Was it just a phone call? Would you come around and?
I mean, these guys were amazingly generous and helpful, and so many of these interviews happened by me just saying to them, hey, I want to talk to, you know, Kim Gordon or whoever it was, and then just suddenly I would be on a text with whoever it was, and almost everyone, I mean, everyone that they connected me with was just, you know, eager to say yes. I mean, we didn't have the budget to be flying all over the place to interview people, so sometimes we had to wait till like Mudhoney was coming into town to record in the Melbourne studio for me to interview Mark and Steve from Mudhoney. But the people that were in LA, it was, you know, so much of that. There's so much goodwill towards these guys that, you know, it was just, you know, in most cases that's how it worked. Not in every case. Some of it was just me trying to track people down, and you know, and almost everyone that I wanted to talk to, and you know, there were certain things where I flew Ron Reyes in from Vancouver, and at a time where I knew Des Cadino, who lives in Newark, was going to be in town, because I just thought it'd be so cool to have Des and Ron, you know, talk to them at the same time, and we did that interview at the Moose Lodge in Redondo, which was like sort of the site of the first, you know, Black Flag show. You know, I don't mention it or anything, but you know, it's just a cool thing that's where it was. These guys were there at that show. But yeah, a lot of the people I spoke to was just these guys reaching out to them.
Yeah, and I loved. I don't know if this was in the movie or if I heard Thurston Moore say this before, but they were so punk that they basically said "fuck off" to punk, right? You know, it was something to that effect. It's like they grew their hair out and they did things that were not supposed to be punk, but yet that's really punk, right? So did you make a real effort to kind of move away from that, or?
I think we were early trolls.
As opposed to later?
We had a lot of people, yeah, their panties in a bunch with our style and basic approach. It was fun, very fun.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I always, as again, I saw you guys play probably a dozen times back in the day, and stylish was always my thing. You guys were stylish. Any other? Do we have any other hands that want to? Any questions from the audience? I see some hands.
Yeah, I just walk up to the mic.
Thank you.
We can hear you. Going way back to like early days. The first song I ever heard you guys do on Rodney, of course, was "Cease to Exist." So I'm curious about how the Charles Manson thing, if it's too soon, let me know, that's fine. But how did that Charles Manson thing go? Were there ever any royalties sent to him, and how did that work out? I know you had made millions of dollars on this record, but tell me about like the Manson connection, what happened there?
We never paid the Beach Boys or Charles Manson for our performance. It was a guerrilla. That was called guerrilla record making at the time. We did "Cease to Exist" was a Charles Manson song that I had on tape from Rodney Bingenheimer's show. He played it alongside the Beach Boys version of the same song.
Yeah, but they changed it
The title.
to "Cease to Resist."
Right.
Or "Never Knew Not to Love," or never learned not to love you, or something.
Yeah. So when we
Charlie
did
was
it,
a deep thinker, we know. So
it was kind of a weird. I mean, it was kind of an afterthought song that we did on our Born Innocent album. But yeah, we were a little nervous because I don't think we added it to the track list. It's just on the record.
On the original pressing, it's not. I don't think it's listed because, I mean, in 1980, we recorded it in 81. I guess it came out in 82. But like by that point, it's really only like a little over a decade from the horrible tragedy, and there were still some of those Manson people, like followers, lingering in Los Angeles, like people that knew Rodney Bingenheimer, and we were, you know, and that part of, I mean, and I think that was part of, there was beef with Charlie and the Beach Boys because they didn't credit him, or they like bought the song off him and kind of ripped him off, kind of, or something. But in terms of us like paying royalties, we didn't know what publishing was. So not only did we not pay any publishing debt, we wouldn't even know who to.
And we didn't pay Kiss either. So Gene Simmons never made a dime off of Ray Kross.
we're the only people he's never made a dime off of. Okay, anybody else have a question right in the middle?
I was just wondering, what's your favorite combo of breakfast cereal and Saturday morning cartoon?
What pairs nicely?
I was always partial to the cereal Freakies. The problem with Freakies, you would eat the whole box in one sitting and you'd get sores inside your mouth. Cartoons, I don't know which. Oh, Davy and Goliath. If you got up really early.
You got a good education.
And later, when you start smoking pot, it was Davy and Goliath and the New Zoo Review.
New Zoo Review on Pop was fantastic.
It was.
Yeah. And also, what's the one where, HR Puffin stuff was?
Of course,
Yeah, anybody else?
The Doug and Emmy Joe. And every day's a different show.
Oh, that's right. Charlie the Owl.
Yeah.
He was
Henrietta
on
the
New Zoo.
Hippo.
Henrietta Hippo.
But I like Doug and Emmy Joe.
Oh,
The
Emmy Joe was
humans.
hot.
Yeah, they're
Emmy
great.
Joe was really hot. I remember like being 12 and going, she's pretty hot.
Yeah, she was.
Congratulations on the movie. I loved it. And the book I just got a couple days ago, and the record is fantastic. But I'm a Hopper Knight, class of '81. So
Whoa.
I saw the book, Jeff. We're like a couple days apart. Birthday, 63 August.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm a good friend of Alan's Spirits. I talked to Alan today. He said sends his best. But the first show Alan and I went to was at the Fleetwood, and I remember it was pretty terrifying in there. And I don't know if it's because it was my first show, or I just wonder if you guys have any memories of the Fleetwood being particularly edgy in there.
The Fleetwood was very dicey. There was like, you step outside, there were like lowrider gangs wanting to kill punk rockers. The cops were after you, and then all the punk rock kids were like beating each other up. And the bouncers there were really horrible. And that was a rotten kind of run.
So what was the upside?
That was the upside.
They had amazing shows there occasionally, but yeah, it was a scary venue.
Where?
It was called the Fleetwood. It was in Redondo Beach.
Believe it or not, and there's probably a cheesecake factory now.
It used to be called the Smokestack. In the 70s, a lot of cover bands played there. That was like the place where you'd see Rage or probably even early Van Halen.
Yeah. So I have to say that, so I had a big plan for this. It's like, I'm going to go on eBay and I'm going to find a really cool big Red Cross vintage poster. I'm going to hang it in front of the stage. And so I did. I ordered one. It came, and this is it right here. So, it's like the Spinal Tap thing where the thing comes down. And instead of 12 feet, it's 12 inches or whatever. So this is, but I think this is actually a real
Mailed away from
I'm embarrassed to say what I paid for it. Hopefully you get royalties from that, I think. So this is at the Palace with the Doughboys and Flop. So I'm guessing that was, I was at the show, I know I was, probably 93?
Yeah, 93, 94. Faceshifter era.
I thought this was like 11 by 14 or like a really big poster. So don't ever go on eBay when you're a little stoned and buy stuff. Because you think, oh, this is a really cool big poster, but this is what I got.
Oh yeah, and also I might have been bidding on it too and jacking up the price.
Ended up paying like $80 for a
Sorry
little
about that.
flyer that was made at Kinko's or
That was
whatever.
me jacking up the price.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, that's it. That's my gift to you guys. So. I think it's a real original too. Like it looks like it was cut
So
quick.
yeah, it looks like Golden Voice standard issue,
Yeah.
93.
Yeah, and it was at the Palace. Typical. Okay, any other hands raised? Yep, a bunch right there in the middle. Thank you.
Hi guys, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your relationship with Shonen Knife, how that came about, and are you guys still in touch with him? Or I know at one time you were doing some, not writing, but you were writing songs about them. They were writing songs about you. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Shonen Knife, I discovered them, my friend gave me a videotape of Shonen Knife when they were doing like homemade videos of like some of the songs off their first record. And I loved it, became obsessed with it, and got a hold of Naoko, the lead singer. and we just started writing back and forth and talking on the phone. So they came out to visit. They came and stayed in my tiny bachelor apartment, and we had.
John, I've stayed with you. I
Yes,
don't
they
think I
did.
remember that.
Oh yeah, it gets even.
Amazing.
So yeah, they stayed in my little apartment with me, and they opened for us at the Roxy. That was their very first performance in America. Yeah, so kind of discovered them. I mean, they already had tape on K Records, but I think we kind of brought them to the larger audience.
And then we were part of a tribute album that Bill put out.
The Shonen Knife.
Yeah, and then we wrote a song called Shonen Knife, and they wrote a song called Red Cross. And then Kurt Cobain jumped in there and took credit for all of it or something like that.
Hands? Anyone else? Oh, yeah.
So in the book, there was conversation about being under the cult of personality of Darby Crash.
Oh, sure.
So I'd love to hear about that. And does anybody have a germs burn?
I do have a germs burn, thank you. And then in terms of being under the cult of personality of Darby Crash, I mean, I was 12 years old. But, and I do have a germs burn, although I can't say it's of the day. This really lame, well, it's legit. Lorna gave me a germs burn, but not in 1979. She gave it to me in like 2008 or something.
That works.
Yeah. It was a germs reunion, right?
Well, it was when, okay, well, there's that sort of ill-fated germs biopic film. And my lovely wife, Anna Warnker, she made some music for it. Anyways, I got to be on the set, and Lorna was on the set, making sure that Bijou Phillips was playing her parts right. And I had a few beers in me, and I realized at that moment I could get a legitimate germs burn from Lorna. So I said, I never had one, but I should have. Left wrist on the bone, please, now. And that's when I said, no, please. And then I did it.
You know, the amazing thing is, that means that you're
The late Lorna Doom.
You're qualified, since you were given a germ spray by an actual germ, you're qualified to give them to someone else.
Yeah,
so if anyone wants
from what I understand, vampire rules apply. So,
a couple right there.
yeah, so after...
Get out on the parklet later.
Yeah,
if
so
you want.
after the Q&A, I'll be giving germs burns to the president.
So I want to ask Steve, what would you have done if you didn't have an older brother?
Yeah, I wouldn't be here probably, for sure. I mean like...
Accountant or?
Yeah, who knows?
I don't
Yeah,
know, work for NASA or
something probably
something weird?
square. I can take very little credit for the crazy experiences I've had, because I was, definitely just keeping up with Jeff McDonald for the first decade at least.
Okay, and so now I know they touched on the Partridge Family stuff on TV, which for all of us of that generation was huge, right? And I'm a little older than you guys, so I went back to the Archies even.
Yeah.
So the Archies was huge. So although they weren't real, I don't think anyway. But the Partridge Family was a huge influence on lots of people, and it was a family band, right? So that was the impetus for.
Well, I remember when I saw them for the first time, the Partridge Family on TV. They were the first garage band I ever saw. And then you think, wow, I want a garage band. I mean, honestly, that's like, I didn't know it was a whole kind of subgenre of like music. They were an actual garage band, but we never sounded as good as them in the garage.
No, we didn't.
We had a lot of session players that played on those records that were really good. Anybody else out there?
Hello. I just want to say me and my friend are from Torrance, so shout out South.
All right, Torrance.
And also I want to say I'm really shocked it's your first movie. The movie was incredible. Great job. It was so great.
Thanks.
Karen.
Do we have a follow-up question for that?
Or does anyone else want to say the same thing?
Well, we all agree it was fantastic.
It's not a follow-up, but I was just wondering if I was really just too high and just imagined it. But did I see guys at Scream like wearing white fringed like outfits with long blonde?
You hallucinated that.
That wasn't us. You mean did we play the Scream?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we played the Scream, sure. You mean at the Park Plaza Hotel,
Yes.
MacArthur Park?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same building where we also went to the Elks Lodge riot in 1979, which is, and I also got married in that building in 2001. I have a lot of history. But you were commenting about our fashions when we played there. Is that what you asked about? Our
Fringe?
Fringe? Were you,
That sounds like the Osmonds. Your conclusion.
I mean, yeah,
Jimmy and Donnie were playing it there.
We probably wore some fringe. I don't know. Jeff had fringe. Jeff had bangs, which they call fringe in England.
Oh, yeah. Next.
That girl.
I see him right
That young
here.
lady there in the pink.
Just, we'll hear you. Just
Okay, so I have a question. I haven't actually read your book yet. I bought it for
Asleep at the wheel.
Ordered it, yeah. And he's about halfway through, and he read me the part about Stephen Malcolmus being a weenie to you guys. Has he apologized?
Who was a weenie to it?
Stephen Malcolmus.
Well, I mean, it's ridiculous that he would push my buttons, but I think I did eventually call him out on some cyber space something, and he went, "Oh man, I probably did that. I'm sorry."
Didn't he say we lost the script after Manessa?
Yeah, he said that. Well, no, the thing was, it was the reason it hurt me so much is because it was during our 9-year hiatus, and I probably felt very insignificant or something, and then there was some like Spin magazine, like the hot indie rockers were talking about their 10 favorite albums, and we were getting name checked by Steve Malcolmus. I go, "Oh my God, let me see this," and I grabbed it, and he put in his top 10 our first album, Born Innocent, and which was great. I was reading it, and then he goes, "Yeah," then they totally lost the script out of that after that. Totally sucked. And so I was like, okay, so this guy said I peaked at 14. Fuck you. Yeah, and then I think I wrote some ridiculous email, like in very early email days. Hopefully it didn't make it to him. But then later
Probably
on,
on AOL. Probably AOL.
Can't fuck with Steve McDonald. He was-
I don't know.
He did agree to an interview for the film, but I don't know if it's related.
Any hands?
Hey,
Right here in
I thought
front?
that was Calvin Johnson who said that.
Well, Calvin Johnson said that to my face. He basically, he did, and and he went even earlier because he only likes the first EP. So he only liked me when I was 12. But that's okay, you know. You can't have them all.
So wait, now I'm confused. Are we worried about Stephen Malcolmus or your feelings?
Am I worried about what?
We don't really care about Stephen Malcolmus at this point.
Yeah. This Steven's here tonight. We're worried about his feelings.
Stephen McDonald's feelings are what counts.
Steve Malcolmus will be fine. We're both gonna be fine. Okay, we might do a little therapy work together, but I think we'll be fine.
I think we have a question over here.
Yeah, a couple of my favorite albums are the Love Dolls albums. Could you talk about that a little?
Well, okay. Yes, the Love Dolls. So those are two films that Jeff and I are in with our friends. Dave Markey directed, and people often ask us why the Love Dolls movie is not represented in the movie in this documentary, and that's the moment when I say, it's not my movie. That's Andrew's movie, and why did you not put the Love Dolls in?
The Love Dolls, for people that don't know, the movie's about an all-girl band, so we wrote all the fake songs for the movie.
Right, but first, but I think it's worth mentioning, and that wasn't necessarily his question, but...
Yeah, he was asking about the albums. There's a lot of, I had a whole section in an early cut of the film that's all about Desperate Teenage Love Dolls. Certainly, obviously interviewed Dave Markey and Jennifer Schwartz, Jordan Schwartz too, who didn't end up in the film. That will all end up as a special feature on the DVD. It was just one of the things, once I decided I wanted this movie to be like a Ramones song, just quick and to the point, under 90 minutes. That was just one of the sections that ended up being just a painful lift that I made. But for fans of the band, of the movies rather, you'll be happy once the DVD is out and you have that material. But he was asking about the albums.
Right, so the albums, I don't even really remember what's on those albums. I mean, like, I know the first album was a lot of stuff lifted from our first album, Born Innocent, which I think they just mastered it right off the vinyl. And then we did the Love Dolls theme song.
And we did Beer and Lutes, which was a Love Dolls song.
Beer and Lutes, I get the two mixed up, is that in Love
That was
Dolls
the song that
Superstar?
the Love Dolls performed.
But that might be in Love Dolls Superstar. Is that
Yeah.
And, I mean, we'd have to, if you had a copy, we could go by through it.
There's Stairway to Heaven. There's Stairway to Heaven and Purple Haze on the first one.
Yeah, Purple Haze. Yeah, we used Purple.
Speaking of probably not paying any publishing.
That came out on SST, so there definitely was not. In fact, the great kid might own the publishing to Purple Haze now because of that. For all we know.
So I wonder if Jimmy Page from Robert Plant knows that Stairway to Heaven is on an SST record.
Yeah. But I think we might have changed the name.
Well, they ripped that off from Spirit anyway, right? The Stairway to Heaven.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
So maybe Spirit should have the publishing.
Right. I don't agree with that though.
Oh no?
That's a whole other conversation, but I think that's
troll.
Jimmy was very clear when he talked about that song and how it could be similar without having anything to do with it, ripping it off.
Oh, I agree.
Theory mumbo jumbo. He's a thief. I don't know.
Speaking of thieves, I was glad to see Stone Temple Pilots kind of going down. I mean, good lord. Any hands? I see one over there.
I just love the Southern California vibe from the very beginning, and television and entertainment and pop culture. You guys infuse into your music. It's very magical, very magical. I want to ask each one of you, what are your top 3 shows, concerts that you went to growing up?
That's pretty. What are the top? How many shows?
Top 3.
Top 3 shows. Each of us had a concert. I'll give you mine really quickly. Elton John in 1974.
Where?
Rod Stewart and Faces 1975.
Where?
And Kiss in 1976. All at the Fabulous Forum.
I missed those first 2 concerts. I was deemed too young. So I saw Kiss at the Forum in '76 on the first Alive. And then I'd say my first nightclub show was really a very influential, life-changing experience. And that was at the Whiskey A Go-Go. We saw the Avengers and X. And X was opening even. They were the opening band. And then, I don't know what else. I mean, so many great shows in Los Angeles. I don't know. The Butthole Surfers at the John Anson Forum was incredible.
So I saw when you guys recently did something online about the old places up in Hollywood. The Pick Me Up Cafe, China Club. Now, around the corner from Pick Me Up was, I think, the King King. Do you remember the King King? It was on 6th La Brea, which is a cool place. So, were there places like that? I know you guys mostly hang up in Hollywood, but Long Beach had some cool places like that too. So, did you guys come and hang out later, or mostly just play the clubs like Fenders and stuff?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, the main connection I have with Long Beach was, like Jeff was talking about, Zeds, and then going to Fenders, and we would go to shows there. We played Fenders a few times. I remember,
Well, remember we were driving in. We were remembering the concert that we went to at the Long Beach Arena.
We saw. So this is something Jeff always kind of holds over my head. So in like 1978, also, Jeff really wanted to go to a punk rock show, and I was 11 years old. And I was afraid to go to a punk rock show because there was a lot of talk in the media about how violent it was. And there was a show happening at the Starwood that Jeff really wanted to go to. It was the Dickies and the Jam.
And the Eyes.
And the Eyes, that Jeff would later marry the bass player of the Eyes. But he didn't know that at the time, so he didn't try to pitch that part. But he would have. But when he explained what show was at the Starwood, this club in Hollywood, I was like, that's punk rock. And he's like, okay, well, if you don't want to go to that, we could go to Angel at the Long Beach Arena.
Angel.
Yeah. And I was like, Long Beach Arena, it's like a big place like where they have the circus or something. That sounds safe. I'll go to that.
So did you learn anything from Angel? Because they were kind of...
They're a hell of a band.
Yeah.
Ohio's The Gods were amazing.
Yeah, the Gods
open.
Yeah, the Gods open. They were kind of like a...
They're like a Motorhead type.
Well, they were kind of like a disco Motorhead.
Yeah.
They were like a light rock predecessor of Motorhead.
I've never heard that term, disco motor.
Yeah, it's new. It's a genre. I mean, you guys can, someone can start it.
Point tonight by Stephen McDonald.
Take the idea and run with it.
To see Punky Meadows up close was inspiration.
But I remember the bass player of the Gods actually was pretty amazing. Back to the Motorhead side, because they actually, if you listen to their records, they were on Casablanca. It was actually kind of disco and light. But live, there was a part where the bass player put his bass on a guitar stand, turned it on 10, and then just had a whip. And that was his bass solo. And he whipped the bass.
See much in those days.
Yeah.
At an Angel show.
Yeah, often you rarely saw that.
So how did you get your parents to let you go to these shows?
To the Angel show?
Any show when you're fucking 10 years old.
Well, I think the biggest pitch that we had was that we would just kind of go, well, you know, it's just like dropping us off at the movies, you know, and also we could get them to take us to the Forum because we were in Hawthorne, only a couple miles from the Forum. And that's where my parents went all the time to see the Lakers play. They're still, our parents are still around. They're huge Lakers fans. And then also the Barnum and Bailey Circus would even happen there. So we'd be like, it's just go to the Forum. Like, you can drop us off at the House of Pies across the street, and then you can, you know, we'll come back. And that's basically how we did it. And then it was just also sort of like, we were like Bart Simpson. There was two of us who were just relentless. Like, please. Non-stop. And we'd start, it was a campaign that we'd start months in advance.
Well, we're glad it worked out. Any other hands? We don't want to keep these guys all night because they've been so generous to come
You guys
down.
must have to pee as well.
Yeah.
That guy back there with the devil. Were you raising your hand? Oh.
Sure.
Okay, let's do one more and then...
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
You guys talk a lot about that, the cross-pollination of when you were in the early days of punk. Was it common for other punks around you to like Kiss and all this other stuff, or were you guys complete outliers?
Oh, Kiss? Well, no, not then, because Kiss they were going through their dynasty period during our early punk rock days. And they were an embarrassment to real serious rock and rollers or punk rockers. So we had to reintroduce them to the people.
Where does food feed this idea to our purebred?
Our friends always liked
I was
that
made
kind of
for
stuff.
loving you era, right?
also-
This disco song.
Shandy.
But also,
Yeah.
like, you know, it was like we were hanging out with Black Flag, who were like 10 to 15 years older than us. And they would have been like, you know, teenagers. They would have been our early 20s when the first Kiss album came out. So they probably thought it was uncool, you know. It wasn't like, wasn't authentic roots music of some sort. So.
But the first time we actually met with Greg Ginn the first time, he was in his mid-20s. I saw his record collection and I was relieved that he had a Black Oak, Arkansas album.
Because you were worried that he wouldn't?
No, I figured I can identify with this person.
Were there style tips from Jim Dandy in that?
No, I mean, you know, Jim Dandy was a big influence on us.
Well, yeah. Who did
David Lee Roth, that Jim Dandy guy.
To the rescue. Anyway, thanks again. I want to thank you guys again for coming down. I know you did a lot of these.
Before we let you go, if you've got friends in the LA area, we've got two more opportunities to see this film in the theater. One is in Hermosa Beach at the South by South Bay Festival, the inaugural South by South Bay Festival, February 7th, St. Rock.
Which is worth mentioning that we're playing.
They're gonna
a lot
play.
of
We're gonna play.
And it's probably our first time playing in Hermosa Beach. I don't.
45 years.
Well,
Yeah.
since 1981, probably. I don't remember. Yet.
So that's gonna be cool, and the whole festival is gonna be really cool. And then at the Grammy Museum on February 18th, we will be showing the film and doing a Q&A there. So if anyone wants to see it again, or if you have friends who might want to see it, and just please, like any posts for Born Innocent Red Cross and those social media, there's an email list at Red Cross Film you can sign up for. Details about the eventual jam-packed DVD, Blu-ray with lots of special features, and any other news. It would be great if you guys could all follow the film and help spread the word. And thank you so much for actually coming out to the theater to see this.
And for the love of God, buy this record too. Look, this is you notice it's kind of a white album, red album, right? So this album, and I know I use a little hyperbole, but it's the best album I've heard in many, many years. So buy it. It's awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.